My name's Tim McMahon-Smith. I'm editor of The Energist and also Modern Fleet magazine. Thank you for joining us for today's energy webinar on the eve of COP26. The decarbonisation of society and your businesses is actually the challenge of our times. And our aim is to make this event interactive. Take the chance to pose questions at the Q&A at the end of the webinar. It will be recorded and that will be available following the event. So don't worry if you miss a slide or taking notes. I'm delighted to be your host for today's event. And what I can tell you is that this will be a real world webinar focused on actual examples and the here and now that are commercially viable solutions to decarbonising. We'll feature the latest technologies and delivering on reduced carbon from day one. So let's kick things off by finding out more about Veolia's plans for ecological transformation.
This is a historic moment. Never has humanity's future been so closely entwined with environmental concerns. This is urgent. Our climate is changing. Natural resources are running out. Biodiversity is collapsing. Our house is on fire. We all know it. Everyone's talking about it. Now we must act. Practical, high-impact solutions already exist. Now more than ever, we need industrial players to accelerate their rollout. But other problems remain to be solved. We must do all we can to invent the solutions of tomorrow. We must go beyond transition. There is no time left for gradually changing our methods. To reconcile the environment and human development, we must make decisive, difficult choices. That is why Veolia aspires to a larger, higher, more challenging ambition: ecological transformation. Ecological transformation means genuinely adapting our patterns of production and consumption. It means placing ecology at the heart of every process, every assessment, every decision. It means developing radical, meaningful solutions to meet humanity's existential challenges, decarbonising industry to combat climate warming, promoting the circular economy to combat resource depletion, decontaminating the air, water and soil, protecting biodiversity, and creating more resource-efficient agriculture. None of this would be possible without the coordinated action of all our stakeholders, our dedicated employees, but also our customers, our shareholders, our partners, and wider society as a whole. We are committed to delivering expert-led change and convinced that economic, social, and environmental concerns must form an indivisible whole. Decontaminating, sanitizing, purifying, recycling, recovering, conserving, and facilitating access to resources. Veolia has always worked to create solutions capable of building a better, more sustainable future for all. Today, we want to become the benchmark company for ecological transformation. Our ambition is huge, but so is our determination. Ecological transformation, that is our purpose.
Welcome again, but yes, to open our webinar, I'm pleased to introduce Gavin Graveson, Veolia's Executive Vice President, Northern Europe Zone.
Well, thank you, Tim, and good morning, everybody. My name is Gavin Graveson, and I lead Veolia's Northern European Zone. But the purpose of today's event, on the eve of COP26, which has been held in Glasgow, is to explore with our international colleagues how Veolia is working with customers to reduce the carbon impact of their energy services and hearing your experiences to see if lessons can be learned elsewhere. It's no secret that we live in a time when environmental concerns have never been so instantly visible, or the consequences so real to everyone. We are at a pivotal moment, and to must make a difference today, it's time for the ecological transformation. As a company, we have set out our global expertise to become the benchmark for ecological transformation, tackling climate change, treating pollution, optimizing resources, and improving the quality of life. As a company, we must expand, accelerate our existing solutions, and create the solutions for tomorrow, which will help preserve the planet for future generations. Everyone is looking for answers that work. So we're here to spark your imagination, and show how we're already tackling carbon and climate change, and perhaps how we can help you seamlessly deliver environmental solutions. Excuse me. Today, we are going to go to a tour of our Edinburgh water recycling plant, a Volkswagen car manufacturing plant, excuse me, in Poland, and DuPont's largest manufacturing facility in Richmond, Virginia. We'll find out also about our first carbon energy fund project at Dublin's Mater Hospital, and the first National Health Hospital in England to be powered solely by renewable energy. Then we'll look forward to advances in the future bioenergy in Germany, building energy efficiency, hydrogen technology, and the reduction of fleet emissions. So, by harnessing the best practices developed by our global teams and backing this with our own research and development programs and working in partnership with you, we can bring you the low carbon future nearer. We have solutions in hand, but there are also many on the horizon. We only have one planet, and it's time to respect it. Our modern world needs energy to power every facet of activity, but reducing carbon is everyone's responsibility. We're here to help you achieve your net zero goals and make a real difference for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. And now I'm pleased to introduce John Abraham, Veolia's Chief Operating Officer, UK and Ireland Industrial Water and Energy. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Tim, and thanks, Gavin, for your fantastic introduction. So it's really great to be here today. So what does COP26 really mean for water, energy and waste? Well, with the demanding impacts of climate change becoming ever more obvious across the globe, the COP26 event has never been more important. It's a real wake-up call for our modern world and represents a real chance to change how we do things. As many of you know well, our modern lives demand resources. Across the globe, we depend on energy and water to function. The problem is, historically, that has been delivered at massive carbon cost to our planet. Really, to counter climate change, the world needs to transform. How we manage the energy and the water supplies that are vital to businesses, to the public sector and to communities, and never have the issues of energy services be more topical or more important. For us at Veolia, the road to reducing carbon and achieving the net zero goal is a series of steps, each one reducing carbon footprint for our customers. What is achievable is only limited by imagination. As you will see over the next 85 minutes or so, our teams are working with customers to push the boundaries by applying existing and new technologies. The key to delivering innovation is to do things differently and to manage change. As our video said earlier, we must invent the solutions of tomorrow. But this must also be done in a way that preserves financial viability for our customers and delivers the essential, reliable and resilient energy services to support their core activities. By harnessing the best practices developed by our global teams and supporting this with our extensive research and development programs, we can work with you to deliver a low carbon future. Our energy operations reach tens of millions of people, either directly or through district heating, through the goods and services they buy, the healthcare they receive, the colleges they study at, or even the vacations they take, or the waste that they produce. In the UK alone, Veolia Group has been helping customers cut energy and water use and reduce carbon for over 55 years, building partnerships that last for many decades, continuously improving the services we deliver 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We are engineers, and as engineers, look for all the future requirements, creating, delivering and supporting solutions over a long-term contract, guaranteeing that the solutions we implement for you actually deliver the energy resilience and carbon reductions you expect. Not only does this deliver carbon savings, but perhaps more surprisingly, can deliver greater reliability, greater efficiency and increased profitability for all the stakeholders involved. Getting energy efficiency right needn't cost the earth. Those of us innovating low carbon technology know that there has been some reluctance to commit to investing in the past, particularly if the investment payback is longer than, say, 2 years. But the game's changed. It really has changed over the last few months, even. With energy price volatility, the cost savings can now be delivered more quickly and the carbon savings delivered from day one. But the game has and continues to change. With energy price volatility, what we can show you today are just a few of many examples from all over the world of how we are pushing the boundaries of energy efficiency and really delivering concrete solutions in collaboration with our customers. It's time everyone takes ownership of all the power we use and the emissions that we create. You can help their journey to net zero by sharing your experience like we're doing today. At Veolia, we're really stepping up with ecology at the heart of everything that we do. The ecological transformation is our company purpose. There's always a solution that can reduce your carbon footprint. We're very proud of the many examples that we're about to show you, and we look forward to creating many more benchmark improvements. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So as I explained at the start of today's webinar, it's about real-life examples of carbon reduction, and our international journey starts appropriately enough in Scotland, on the shores of Edinburgh at Seafield Wastewater Treatment Works.
Seafield's the largest treatment works in east of Scotland, treating waste from a population equivalent of 850,000 people in Edinburgh and the surrounding areas. That equates to 300 million litres of wastewater treated every day, which is enough to fill 121 Olympic-sized swimming pools. At Veolia, we're constantly finding environmental solutions to tackle climate change. Even wastewater treatment works have a part to play, and Veolia is transforming them to deliver carbon benefits. Working in partnership with Scottish Water, Veolia have introduced a number of key measures to derive renewable energy using sludge. This includes processes such as thermal hydrolysis or investing in an additional combined heat and power plant, which will provide greater energy generation. The energy generated from the biogas created by the organic matter within the wastewater powers the site, and any surplus is exported to the national grid. By implementing a range of innovations and increasing efficiency, the site is moving towards 100% self-sufficiency, which lowers carbon emissions and has reduced its energy costs significantly, which helps meet the value for money consumer criteria set for the industry. We treat bioresources removed from wastewater to create nutrient fertiliser. The site produces more than 30,000 tonnes per year of organic fertiliser for local agriculture.
I think the product's great. It has a good environmental story. It's a perfect circular economy. It helps to boost our estate's green credentials.
Saving resources is key. We recycle water, generate renewable energy, reduce carbon emissions, produce organic fertiliser, displacing carbon-intensive synthetics. Ecological transformation. It's Veolia's purpose, turning waste into a resource.
Our first panel is focused on heat and electricity decarbonisation. And to launch it, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Marion Evans, Technical Director, Water. Over to you, Marion.
Thanks, Tim. And having just seen the film, I hope that you'll agree that it's a great example of the circular economy in action, showing how water, energy and waste interlink and how a holistic approach to their management draws real environmental benefits. We've harnessed, enhanced and optimized biological and physicochemical processes and tuned them up with some advanced technologies to deliver carbon efficient treatment. We grow microorganisms to feed on soluble pollutants present in the 300 million litres of wastewater flushed down toilets, sinks and drains every day in Edinburgh. And we've saved over 40% of the electricity used to aerate these microbes, almost 3,500 megawatt hours per year, by upgrading the aeration system with new turbo blowers. We harvest these microorganisms and combine with solids we've captured elsewhere in the processing stages, and treat them in an advanced thermal hydrolysis plant, which makes the organics or carbon more available for conversion to methane-rich biogas by anaerobic digestion. This improves the biogas production by around 20% and increases the site's self-sufficiency capacity. We capture the biogas and convert it to electrical energy in a combined heat and power plant, using the electricity to power all the processes at the treatment works. And any surplus, as you heard, is exported to the national grid. We even use the waste heat from the engine jackets to heat up the wastewater feed to the thermal hydrolysis process. The process also pasteurizes the sludge, rendering it harmless, and makes it easier to dewater, producing a drier cake, which in turn avoids over 400 truck movements a year. As mentioned in the film, the sludge cake is applied to agricultural land as a valuable fertilizer and source of nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, an important resource with dwindling global inorganic phosphate reserves. We also reuse some of the treated wastewater across the site to avoid using clean tap water. And Seafield is by no means unique. This kind of approach is being replicated across the water industry, and we also use it to help our industrial customers decarbonize, for instance, in the paper and pulp and food and beverage sectors. This way of thinking, along with developing more low carbon technologies, allows us to reduce our carbon impact, treat water more efficiently, recover more resources, and support our ecological transformation journey. The activities of Seafield have really captured the public's imagination. And at last month's Doors Open Day Scotland event, the Scottish Sun newspaper reported that tickets for Seafield tours were selling faster than the new James Bond movie. Who would have thought? And in that spirit, I would like to pass on to my colleagues, Bartek Pauluk and Zuzanna Lewandowska in Poland. We've been expecting you.
Oh, good day, everyone. As you may know, the situation in Poland is quite specific because, firstly, the share of coal in our energy mix still accounts for 74%. And in addition, Poland's energy intensity is approximately twice high as in the EU average. And secondly, the conventional power generation is centralized, while municipal heat energy is local, mostly built on water-based solutions. Providing heat is crucial for cities in Eastern Europe, and the networks are significantly large. For example, the biggest network in the European Union is the one in Warsaw with almost 2,000 kilometer length. And the large-scale renewable energy technologies applying to conventional power generation, they do not apply directly to DHN systems. So other solutions must be put in place, and that's Veolia's main field of activity. District heating networks are a very valuable infrastructure and optimal way of providing thermal comfort to inhabitants. Therefore, the solution to make them green has to be designed to retain their value while reducing their carbon footprint. This has already started in Poland, and by a variety of means. For example, efficiency of distribution, sustainable biomass, and waste heat recovery. That means that today, 15% of our fuel mix is CO2-free. But it's not enough, and you have to think about the future. One of the promising paths we see is waste isolation. In Poland, many sorting plants have been constructed last years, and to segregate and recycle the waste. But even after these processes, there's a residual fraction which is accumulated today. It cannot be landfilled because of it's too caloric and may burn uncontrolled. And the natural solution for us is to incinerate it with energy recovery. And such projects are run by Veolia in Poland in 5 locations. But what's the most promising for us? It's the recovery of waste heat, especially from the industrial sector, because Poland has a developed industrial sector, and the industry is very often located in the cities or close to the cities. So the heat from production processes can be used not only for the plants themselves, but also for the local communities. In our opinion, this is an excellent way to reduce emissions because we use the heat that has already been produced anyway. So there is no need to use the primary resources. And I would like to show the example of the first project we established in Poznan in 2017 with our partner Volkswagen Foundry. Let's look for the movie.
Modern production means little emissions and using energy from the technological processes. The foundry of Volkswagen Poznan, in cooperation with Veolia, decided to create facilities for further usage of heat energy created in the foundry processes. The heat recovery system, using warmth from the air compressing equipment, transmits the warmth within a pipeline to the heat distribution centre next to the foundry of Volkswagen Poznan. The warmth is further distributed to the housing in the Wilder district. The goal of Volkswagen Poznan is maintaining the minimum carbon footprint. The implemented heat recovery equipment brings the annual CO2 reduction of 1,000 tonnes and saves 17 million litres of water. The whole process is fully automated and the distributed energy can be used to heat about 32 buildings, which is about 2,000 apartments with the average area of 60 metres squared. This is our first project in Poland of transferring waste warmth from technological process to the municipal heating system.
Okay. The crucial factor for this cooperation between Veolia and Volkswagen were the same values we shared. That allowed us to develop a long-term partnership and the successful example project of circular economy. On the video, we presented you what we realized in 2017, but we didn't stop there. This summer, we have signed another agreement with Volkswagen for a delivery of additional volume of heat from foundry furnaces to the network, supplying about 45 residential buildings. Apart from the industrial waste heat, we believe that there's a big potential from heat recovery from wastewater. In 2020, we launched a new installation in Szlachęcin. It's an innovative hybrid solution combining the heat pump with a low source in the wastewater, supported by the gas cogeneration unit. It's been done with the partnership with the municipal water management company Aquanet. This solution allows us to supply green heat to the local network, and we replace almost 60% of coal that used to be the only fuel there a few years ago. This project has been awarded lately in the ranking of Decarbonisation initiatives and won the Construction of the Year prize. Let's see the movie. These were only examples, and there can be many more. Wastewater installations are almost in all the cities in Poland and in industrial sites either. In Poznań, we have already identified 7 another potential waste heat sources. We are now at the process of technical verification, and we also would like to launch a call for tender for companies interested in delivering waste heat to our network. We strongly believe that because of its replicability, heat recovery may be an important element for the decarbonization strategy of Polish district heating systems. Thank you.
Apologies. Thanks, Susanna. And introducing the second panel, which we're moving over to energy efficiency in industry and healthcare. We welcome Francisco Silveiro Marco, Senior Vice President, Energy Services for Buildings at Veolia. Francisco, over to you.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Tim. Good morning, everybody. Very nice to be here with you. So I guess you want to know why energy services for buildings is such a game changer at this time of the day. Well, you know, first of all, because our customers are facing what seems quite an impossible equation. And we believe that energy services for buildings are the key to solve that equation. So maybe I should start with who our customers are. Our customers own, operate, use, manage, live in, work in critical buildings such as hospitals, shopping malls, public buildings, airports, schools, universities, you name it. They all have one thing in common. They want their buildings to be attractive for all their stakeholders, and especially in these times of recovery, so that people feel safe and comfortable in the buildings, and they are actually happy to come back to the buildings. Actually, they also need their buildings to be particularly efficient from a total cost of ownership perspective. And on the other hand, they feel a lot and more pressure to reduce their environmental impact. So in terms of energy consumption, in terms of water consumption, in terms of GHG emissions. So actually that pressure comes not only from regional, national, local regulation, it also comes from their own users, partners, investors. So you see quite a complicated equation. More attractiveness, more comfort, more safety, wellness, and on the other hand, more efficiency, reducing the environmental impact. So that's where energy services for buildings can be a game changer, because it will give an integrated response to these 3 challenges. The idea here is to reduce the energy consumption of a building, but starting from the demand. So this means making sure that we reduce the demand, and therefore energy is produced only when, where, and strictly as much as is needed. So once we have reduced the demand, once we have adapted the demand to the exact needs of the customers, then we can optimize distribution, and then, only then, should we focus on replacing the production equipment to make it more efficient and also with a lower environmental impact. But again, the key is in the word service, not in the works, in the service, because it is the service that will bring results. First of all, the audit service. So the capacity to identify what are the energy conservation measures that really make sense for a specific building. Then the project management service, ensuring that all these measures will be properly implemented and therefore will achieve the performance that they're supposed to bring. And I think most important of all is the long-term service, operating, maintaining the building on one hand, and on the other hand, monitoring its energy and water consumption, and more generally, the environmental impact. And actually here as well, the game is changing, because the capacity to collect data from a building, to analyze it, to benchmark it, well, this capacity and the cost efficiency of doing that has improved enormously in the last years, including actually the addition of artificial intelligence in optimization algorithms. And it's a very interesting topic, because actually in Veolia, we like artificial intelligence, but we also like natural intelligence. And so that's what we do. I mean, we bring the data from the building to what we call our upgrade centers, such as the one that you're seeing just behind me. And there we have flesh and blood energy analysts. That's our natural intelligence. They are supported by artificial intelligence algorithms. So together they can identify possible energy drifts. They can identify also additional pockets for savings. And then they send work orders. And that's also the beauty of the system, is that they send these work orders to our technical teams on the ground. So we have real people, again, on the ground, operating, maintaining the buildings, and they can immediately implement those work orders that come from our upgrade centers. Does it work? Yes, it does. It does, and it works so well that we actually commit on the savings. I'll give you two examples, Tim, from actually from very different geographies. In Dubai, 5 years after we started implementing this approach with our customers, we have already brought them more than $40 million in energy savings. And this without any degradation of the comfort conditions in the building, and even improving the quality, improving the indoor air quality, improving the temperature, improving the feeling of wellness. That's the first example. Another example, in Milan, much closer to us, we've just won a tender to manage the energy in around 600 municipal buildings across the city. Actually, some of them quite historical landmarks. And then on this portfolio of 600 buildings, we are committed to bringing about 25% of energy savings. Now, okay, let's be honest. Some savings are very accessible. They don't require a lot of investment. Some others do. And here, the good news is that in most countries and regions now, there are recovery plans, including a large share of financial incentives for investment in energy efficiency. And also, let's always keep in mind that sooner or later, I mean, the payback can be long, but sooner or later, investment in reducing the energy consumption in a building will reach its payback, and especially in our context of soaring energy prices. So, Tim, as a conclusion, available technology, sound business model, bringing an answer to the most acute stakeholders' challenges. Energy services for buildings is definitely a game changer. And with a huge leveraging effect, as buildings and the construction sector in general are responsible for around 40% of the energy consumption worldwide and around 35% of greenhouse gas emissions. Thanks a lot, Tim. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a very nice day.
Thank you, Francisco. We're now moving on our journey this morning from Marseille to Dublin, where we're here from the Demand Response Association for Ireland, followed by Head of Energy Engineering, Cormac Nevin.
Demand response is really taking electricity that we use in our homes and our businesses and making it more controllable, more active, and more able to participate in the electricity network. And I suppose what we mean by that is choosing things that you can postpone their usage, change the usage, or maybe, curtail usage at particular points of the day. So when we think of, I suppose, the power system here in Ireland and how we use electricity, we're moving away from what we would have said was a traditional linear one-way flow of electricity coming from centralised large generators down to passive consumers who just use electricity in their home and their businesses according to their own schedule. The new model in this kind of two-way system involves having generation, storage and demand that are increasingly distributed and embedded across the network, and what that provides really is an opportunity to aggregate these otherwise what would have been passive electricity usage on individual customer sites, aggregated together in a portfolio that can be responsive and flexible, that can change its usage patterns and control those assets. So what we're offering here, I suppose, in terms of demand response and what Veolia, in terms of its aggregation does, is offer this kind of flexible tool into the electricity network to help operators maintain the system in balance between supply and demand. So the Demand Response Association of Ireland is a trade association that represents companies who operate in the capacity, system services and energy markets on the island of Ireland. We represent about 600 megawatts of demand and embedded generation, and this is across hundreds of industrial and commercial customer sites throughout the island. These sites are then managed by our members, such as Veolia, who trade portfolios of flexible demand into the energy market. So I suppose the advantages for energy security that aggregation and demand response bring are in terms of looking at how our power system needs to operate into the future. So in Ireland, our power system is world leading in terms of our inclusion of renewable generation, but it's a small island system. It's got relatively low levels of interconnection to other networks, and this can pose a huge challenge in actually managing that intermittent generation, such as wind, when you're keeping the power system in balance. Flexible demand and aggregation provides an extra tool to the power system in carrying out this really complex operation of balancing in real time, and it allows the system to use more decarbonised sources of power to meet our energy needs. So as we move to a more decarbonised power system, the types of technologies and services that Veolia operate are becoming increasingly important. When you think of our power system, we're dealing with higher levels of generation such as wind and solar power. There's going to be an ever-increasing need for flexible demand technologies to provide a predictable, reliable and controllable asset that you can help to manage the system in real time. Flexible demand provides a means of dealing with variation that helps the power system to operate, to stay in balance, and can help avoid any expensive capital investment that might be needed in the network. So at the moment, some of the biggest challenges in the energy industry are around getting the right technologies and investment in place on our path to decarbonisation. The Demand Response Association of Ireland works to influence policymakers and stakeholders to fully exploit demand response and to play our part in meeting climate action targets.
Thank you, Tim. The Irish government's Climate Action Plan has set out the ambitious targets to reach 75% renewable generation penetration in the national electricity grid by 2030. But ensuring security of supply represents an important consideration in the transition to renewables. The active participation of distributed generation assets that are located across Veolia sites have an important role to play in delivering this resilience in the electricity grid. Our demand response aggregation units provide support to the grid by generating local power or reducing demand, and also providing additional demand when there is an abundance of renewable power available. The avoided curtailment of these renewable generators, such as wind and solar farms, is key to achieving this ambitious target, but the availability of these flexible assets also means the grid operator can avoid capital-intensive infrastructure reinforcements in the short term at least. Veolia delivers industrial, commercial and municipal utility operations and maintenance across the island of Ireland. Our core objective is to deliver these utilities with the highest level of efficiency to avoid emissions in the first instance. Through our demand response aggregation units, we give our clients the opportunity to participate in the decarbonisation journey of the national electricity grid. Facilitating these services also provides a welcome additional revenue stream for our clients. The transition away from fossil fuels is by no means a simple task, and I feel this can be best illustrated by the demand of high temperature manufacturing processes. Removing low or medium temperature processes from high temperature utilities like steam will facilitate the next phase of a manufacturer's pathway to decarbonisation through the utilisation of new technologies in recovered heat, waste heat and heat pumps. The electrification of heat causes a challenge to the development of resilient infrastructure, but can also be utilised to provide flexibility in the demand when renewable electricity is available. Coordination of all these challenges and opportunities into a net zero carbon roadmap for our clients is a role that Veolia is accustomed to, and we are finding that the decarbonisation agenda is very strong, not only among our private industry clients, but also in the private sector clients, like the one you are about to hear from next. Veolia Ireland successfully won the first public sector energy performance contract in Ireland at the Mater Misericordia University Hospital, which is one of the largest hospital campuses in Ireland. And I'll let Alan Sharp, the hospital CEO, explain more. And this will be followed by our Head of Marketing and Corporate Responsibility, Anya Murray. Thank you very much.
The hospital was opened in 1861 by the Sisters of Mercy. Today, we currently have about 720 inpatient beds, approximately 90 day case beds. We have 14 major theatres, 1 minor theatre. In 2018, we started engagement with parties around trying to reduce the energy needs of the institution. And after a particular process, we ended up with awarding a contract to Veolia for an energy performance contract. The goal of the institution at the time was to modernise some of the infrastructure in the institution, to get an avenue to doing that was cost effective and in fact cost neutral. We wanted to reduce our carbon footprint in line with government policy, which meant we needed to have at least a 33% improvement in our energy efficiency. In 2019, we started to refurbish the McGivney wing, including window replacement, floor replacements, ceilings, lights, upgrades to the bathrooms, nurses' stations, etc. We also had a 2 megawatt CHP that we replaced in the hospital, a number of heating and cooling systems, and a broad range of other energy saving devices and mechanisms as agreed during the contract negotiations. The goal was during the 15 years of the contract that we would reduce our carbon output by about 88,000 tonnes. As we went through the programme, there were benefits in addition to the carbon reduction and the energy savings. We had an opportunity to realign a number of our services. There were spaces within the hospital that could be reconsidered as we were decanting to allow these works to happen. And as we took these spaces back over, we actually reconfigured them to provide additional service. The energy project has delivered the savings we expected. Based on its current performance, we'd have to say that we're extremely thankful that we took the decision at that time to actually move in this particular direction. We knew there was an element of hedging within the contract. So the energy that we would we avoid using, although it's coming back in a cost to replace the equipment that's helping us avoid that energy, effectively means that that energy volume is no longer open to the market. And given the last number of months where energy prices have just continuously grown and there's concern about stability in the energy supply, this actually creates an additional benefit that we knew was there, but we didn't know how well we would get to utilise that benefit from the contract. So overall, I think when we look back on how we started the energy performance contract and where we are today, we're extremely happy that the entire process was commenced. In 2025, I would hope to be in a position where our energy efficiency, which currently stands at about a 37.2% improvement as measured by the SEAI, I'm hoping that will move to somewhere in the region of a 50% plus. Breathing life back into a 40-year-old building and saying, it's good for a little bit longer, guys, you know, when we're struggling for capacity and the environment is far better, it's probably one of the areas that we all are very proud of.
Thank you, Cormac, and good morning, everyone. As we can see from Alan Sharp's piece there, the question of decarbonising healthcare is certainly on the table and in many hospitals throughout Ireland, all I think within that sector's larger mission towards improving well-being. After all, nothing is achieved in isolation. And on that point, two things are clear for me in this. Firstly, decarbonisation work brings additional benefits. Alan Sharp alluded to the fact that the Mater Hospital has seen an increase in its patient well-being and caregiving abilities thanks to a now overall improved healthcare environment. This is vital, as you can imagine, in a pandemic, and equally important in the everyday scenario. Another aspect that has been highlighted to Veolia by the Mater Hospital and was referenced by Alan Sharp in his video was their appreciation of the flexible approach Veolia took and the collaboration demonstrated with all the stakeholders in the hospital community, such that when the hospital realised that our energy performance works provided them with an opportunity to conduct additional works in parallel, Veolia worked with them to accommodate that, resulting in increased beds and increased caregiving ability for the hospital. Secondly, businesses across the sectors are increasingly recognising how critical it is for us to extend our traditional business leadership to environmental responsibilities. And the Edelman Trust Barometer, which surveyed over 1,000 Irish people and was released in mid-February 2020, highlighted this. It showed that the Irish general population now expects CEOs to take the lead on change rather than waiting for government to impose it, with at that time employers more trusted than government, NGOs and media. CEOs being seen to create positive change on issues such as improving the environment, and the new normal being that companies are expected to benefit society as well as being profitable. Of course, the world has gone through a pandemic since then, which I think has only increased that perspective for many of us. And for example, in Business in the Community Ireland's Leaders Group on the low carbon economy, where Cormac Nevin actually represents Veolia, they launched this year a new version of the Low Carbon Pledge, with companies who signed up committing to set science-based targets by 2024, in line with the Paris Agreement and the latest findings from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And 67 companies have already signed up. Also, in the France-Ireland Chamber of Commerce, where I represent Veolia as Deputy Chair of the Climate Response Working Group, we have seen considerable and increasing uptake of our seminars, which aim to increase the business community awareness of our responsibilities, where they fit in on the national and international stages, and also the practical steps which we as business leaders can take. In summary, Tim, I think that organisations and businesses across the sectors, not just in healthcare, are increasingly recognising the importance of multifaceted leadership, especially in terms of our environmental responsibilities and the critical role that decarbonisation plays. And on that note, I'll hand back to you, Tim.
Thank you. We're now heading across the Atlantic on our journey this morning. We're going stateside to DuPont's largest plant in Spruance in Richmond, Virginia.
Hello, I'm Frederick Van Hems, President and CEO of Veolia North America. I am excited about a very important effort to substantially reduce greenhouse gas emissions, which is now taking place in the United States as part of a visionary partnership between Veolia and DuPont. This project is a perfect example of how industries can collaborate to achieve ambitious sustainability goals and make enormous strides to support the world's effort to reduce our carbon footprint and promote the ecological transformation of our planet. Veolia North America is committed to these efforts. DuPont's plant in Richmond, Virginia, is the company's largest manufacturing center, producing Kevlar and other products for water and protection. DuPont turned to Veolia to help them operate the facility's utility infrastructure in a more sustainable and efficient way. Our teams of facilities experts took on a range of innovations and improvements. These included repurposing the cogeneration facility from power production to efficient steam production, and a wholesale conversion from coal to natural gas. The result has been truly impressive. Veolia helped DuPont reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by approximately 220,000 tons. It is a staggering number and a testament to what is possible when industries make the commitment to sustainability. The partnership between Veolia North America and DuPont represents what we mean by the ecological transformation. I am proud of the leading role that Veolia is taking in this very important work.
DuPont's water and protection business creates water, shelter, and safety solutions for a more sustainable world. Here at DuPont Spruance, located in Richmond, Virginia, we're the largest manufacturing facility in DuPont globally. I'm Dan Matson, Services Leader at Spruance. DuPont plays an important role in taking climate action. We've developed 9 goals that are well aligned to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. As part, we're working to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. We've partnered with Veolia to convert our cogeneration facility from using coal to natural gas. In doing so, we've reduced our carbon dioxide equivalents by over 200,000 metric tons annually. That's the same as 44,000 cars, and we've also eliminated 50,000 tons of ash that we had to dispose of previously. Our vision at Spruance is to be the safest, most productive, best place to work in DuPont. We're excited about what we've been able to achieve and the impact we've been able to make in working with Veolia, and we're only just getting started.
For the final part of panel 2, we're staying closer to home as we've got Denis Adelmore, Technical Director of Energy, to talk about 4 energy-saving projects in the UK. Over to you, Denis.
Thank you, Tim. How can Veolia help us decarbonize and meet our 2050 net zero objective? This is the most common question our customers are asking us, since energy and utilities represent a large proportion of the carbon footprint. And there is no silver bullet or one-size-fits-all. Francisco already explained that the first bullet is to implement energy conservation measures. As we prepare for the blue and green bullets, I'm obviously talking about hydrogen here, I would like to give you 4 concrete examples of how Veolia helped some of our customers engaged on that journey to 2050. First of all, for people dialing in from outside the UK, may I say that there is absolutely nothing wrong to talk about solar farms near Birmingham in England. Indeed, we have started the implementation phase of the installation of a 6.9 megawatt peak solar farm in Wolverhampton to displace 6.7 gigawatt hours of electricity per annum at New Cross Hospital, with an annual saving of 1,400 tons of CO2 per annum and 700K. Veolia is managing the installation of the solar farm on an old landfill site nearby, which includes some 13,000 PV photovoltaic modules. That's about 34,000 square meters and 1 kilometer of private wire network. At Lincoln Hospital NHS Trust, we upgraded the lighting with some 10,000 LED fittings and associated controls, which will save 4.5 gigawatt hours and 2,400 tons of CO2 per annum. On another site, we are finalizing the design of a 650 kilowatt air source heat pump to replace an end-of-life combined heat power engine and displace 6 gigawatt hours and save 800 tons of CO2. At Royal Berkshire Hospital, we completed in record time the desteaming of the site with no impact on continuity of service or disruption to patients and staff. We installed 3 kilometers of low temperature hot water pipework to feed 44 plated exchanges in 10 plant rooms. This will be saving 4 gigawatt hours of gas and 700 tons of CO2. This project is also an enabler for a future move towards heat pump technology. In the meantime, the boilers we installed as top-up and backup are obviously hydrogen ready. But this is not only about the NHS who benefited from government injection of cash to decarbonize. For instance, in a distillery in Scotland, we already produce biomass and biogas from an aqueous treatment plant we designed and installed to generate steam. Today, we have identified a number of opportunities to recover low-grade heat, otherwise wasted, to feed heat pumps and use the upgraded heat in the distilling process and preheating of the IC reactor to help generate biogas. This is another example of circular economy loop. None of these initiatives would be complete without closing the loop with performance and carbon monitoring and reporting. As part of our digital transformation strategy, a cloud-based, multi-layered performance reporting system allows us to monitor and report the efficiency of the installation suited to the various stakeholders. All of these projects were the result of a close collaboration between Veolia and our customers to co-design solutions that were in line with a long-term strategy. Thank you. I'd like to hand over back to Tim.
Thank you, Denis. Now we've got the final part of our panel, which is looking at the future of emerging technologies to achieve a carbon net zero goal. I'd just like to first highlight some of the developments that are happening within the electric vehicle market. Electric vehicles are probably, battery electric vehicles are definitely the way that it seems to be going in the medium term. You know, plug-in hybrids still have the problem of carbon, and we have biofuels, which may obviously have an impact more on heavy industry with hydrogen also bringing it in. But last year, there's a clear acceleration in the global transition to electric vehicles. 39% increase in battery and plug-in hybrid sales in the context of a 15% drop in overall car sales because of the pandemic. It had a record year in 2020, with Europe for the first time overtaking China in the amount that were sold. More than 10 million electric cars are on the roads in 2020, with battery electric models driving this expansion. The actual car stock, though, China has 4.5 million cars, and as I said, Europe's had the largest increase, but it's reached 3.2 million. For the first time, Europe led the amount of sales in the cars, and battery electric accounted for 54% of these. In the EV sales across US, China, and Europe will surpass all other vehicle engine sales as soon as 2033, it's predicted, with non-EV sales shrinking to less than 1% of overall sales in these countries by 2045. So the case for developing electric vehicle infrastructure is clear. It is clearly happening, and a lot faster than previously thought. I'd now like to hand over to Marco Faul, Managing Director of Bioenergy Germany, who will discuss bioenergy first. Over to you, Marco.
Thank you, Tim, for the introduction, and hello to everyone. Biocycling is based in Badewig, which is close to Hamburg in the north of Germany. And here you can see a picture of our site in Badewig and the surroundings. Next slide, please. I will shortly give you some information about the development of biocycling in the last couple of years. Then I will give you an overview of the AD process and the avoidance of CO2. And at the end, I will show you our challenges and ambitions for the future. So next slide, please. Who is biocycling and what are we doing? Biocycling is the 100% subsidiary of Veolia Environmental Services and the specialist for the collection and the disposal of commercial and industrial organic waste in this small market in Germany. But in the last 8 years, we have doubled our revenues from 16 million euros to an expected revenue in 2022 of 32 million. And this increase was possible because of organic growth, price development, starting with own logistics, and last but not least, and I think the first three things wouldn't be possible without the acquisition of our 3 AD plants. In the past, we did not have any trucks and only a little share of a small AD plant in a public-private partnership in Hamburg. Today, we are running 40 trucks in the north of Germany, and we are starting logistics also in the east next year to supply our AD plants with it. And our AD plants have a total treatment capacity of 180,000 tons per year. We also had a significant change in our customer structure. In the past, we had one big retailing company who was dictating the pricing structure. It was 50% of all collections. We lost this customer in 2015 and started a diversification of our customer structure. Today, we collect biowaste from 3 customer groups. Food leftovers from restaurants and hotels. We collect expired food from retailers, and we collect production waste from the food industry. Next slide, please. After the collection of the organic waste, we depack the material and we produce a thick soup with a dry matter of, let's say, 15%. And it looks like applesauce for the imagination. In the fermentation tanks, we have many tiny employees who produce biogas from the dry matter. These employees, or let's say bacteria, have nearly the same needs as we have. They need continuous food. That means every day, every couple of hours. They want to multiply. They need the right temperature, and they like to build groups, families, or clusters. So they need structured material like salads, for example. And if you treat the bacteria as well, they will produce a lot of gas. We also pasteurize the soup. This can be before or after the fermentation. The digestate with the dry matter, then after 15%, it's only 2 or 3% goes right now to the farmers. In all AD plants, we are producing electricity for the grid right now. We have an installed capacity of 1.2 megawatt power and nearly the same for heat. So we can reach an avoidance of up to 50,000 tons of CO2 per year. Next slide, please. Sure, we want to keep on growing, not only by revenues, also by further development of our AD plants and the further geographic expansion. Next year, we will install a new depackaging line in our AD plant in Halle in Eastern Germany. Next month, we will install the purification of digestate in Badewig. A very big potential is the heat at our AD plants. In all AD plants, we have a share of heat that is still unused. Currently, we are also working on different possibilities to use the biogas in the future. It can be a flexible energy production with CHPs. That means we produce energy when it's cloudy and not windy. It can also be used to produce green hydrogen. Last but not least, we can use the biogas to run our trucks. So I think that biogas from waste is a very interesting product for the future, and it can help to avoid CO2. It is also a business where all business lines of Veolia come together. So thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate at the end of the presentation. And now I'm handing back to Tim. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. We're now looking at the future of the gas grids. So I'll introduce Neil Brothers, Head of ERF Operations and Maintenance UK.
Thanks, Tim. Good morning. Yeah, there have been many examples today of different methods of decarbonising, a whole host of industries. So we're going to sort of touch today now on different emerging technologies that will help the net zero goal over the years to come. And as Tim mentioned, one of these areas is the future of the gas grid. And really that sort of focuses on the potential of hydrogen. And my colleague Rothio will now give a short talk about that. Please show the film.
work as a process engineer for Veolia UK. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. However, in our planet, we only find it combined with other atoms, forming molecules such as water or methane. Hydrogen as a gas is very important in industry. It's used in petrochemical processes to produce methanol, to produce ammonia, and a series of intermediates. Hydrogen could be used as a fuel as well, and it has a great potential to decarbonize. It can be used to produce heat in businesses and homes, but it can be used as a fuel in vehicles. For many years, we have been using natural gas or methane to produce heat for our homes and businesses and electricity or power. This is because methane is readily available at very large scales, and it is cleaner than conventional alternatives like coal. However, when it's combusted, it releases carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, which contributes to climate change. For a net zero future, we need to replace methane for carbon-free alternatives, and hydrogen is a carbon-free element. So when hydrogen is combusted, the only byproduct is water, and hydrogen has the potential to release near 3 times more energy than natural gas. So most of the hydrogen produced in the world is coming from oil refineries using a process called steam methane reformation, and this is called grey hydrogen. This is because during this process carbon dioxide is released, so we need to capture this carbon dioxide to produce blue hydrogen. As an alternative, we can produce hydrogen from water electrolysis. This is a process that is able to break down the water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. This process could produce what we call green hydrogen, and it has the capacity to take any excess of electricity produced elsewhere. We have identified a series of business areas where hydrogen generation may happen, and we are working on the business models. For example, we can use the excess of electricity from the waste-to-energy plants to power a water electrolyzer. Also, there is an opportunity to produce hydrogen from wastewater treatment plants or organic valorization via anaerobic digestion, and produce hydrogen using a similar process to steam methane reformation. Also, we have hydrogen embedded in some fractions which are hardly recyclable, for example, plastics. So using advanced chemical recycling, this hydrogen could be extracted and used for heat and power applications, or it could be used to synthesize new products like plastics, resins, etc. So in the future, we can use hydrogen to decarbonize our fleet and transport, for example, in fuel cell-ready vehicles, like waste collection vehicles. This hydrogen could be used as well in other kind of vehicles, like city buses. And also, we can move in from gas boiler and CHP engines to hydrogen-ready boilers, and this could be used for heating homes, industrial and commercial applications. Well, at the moment, the gas industry is testing ways to use and transport this hydrogen in the gas grid. At Veolia, we are already preparing sites to be able to use this in a range of on-site energy plants. So, for example, we are looking at switching boilers for commercial applications, for example, in hospitals. We are also looking at projects where we can export excess of electricity from our waste-to-energy plants to water electrolyzers.
Thanks, Rostia. So at Veolia, we follow the carbon hierarchy, looking to avoid, reduce or substitute fuels in order to reduce carbon emissions before looking to capture them. But we acknowledge that carbon capture technology will be required in order to get to net zero for those industries that are much more difficult to decarbonise. On that basis, Veolia partnered with Carbon Clean back in 2017. They're a UK-based company producing carbon capture technology. They're now looking at developing a modular-based carbon capture solution, and that will make a step change in terms of cost to capture and also reduction in size. So that will be much more applicable to retrofit applications. We're now looking to run a trial of that technology at our Sheffield Energy from Waste plant in the UK. And that uses an amine-based solution to strip the carbon dioxide from the flue gas. From there, it can be either utilised or stored. So there are a number of different utilisation applications we're looking at, both in terms of greenhouses, building materials, production of organic chemicals, and even the creation of synthetic fuels. And then where a use for carbon dioxide isn't possible, there are a number of gas fields in Europe being suggested for repurposing for the long-term storage of carbon. What we've seen this year, the cost of carbon, or the carbon price, has risen significantly, up to over 60 euros in August, compared to half of that at the beginning of the year. And also this week, UK government have launched the first of the carbon capture clusters, which will receive funding support. So, we're on the cusp of this technology becoming much more wide scale. And Veolia are continuing to work with the government to ensure the right policies are in place to enable the deployment of carbon capture, utilisation and storage where required. And that will enable both Veolia and our customers to achieve our carbon reduction targets. And following on from carbon capture, Tim's already mentioned electric vehicles. And whilst they might not be seen as emerging technology anymore in terms of cars, they're really just at the beginning of commercial operations for fleet. So Veolia are currently running 70 electric vehicles serving waste collection and recycling contracts in the UK. These are giving an 89% reduction in carbon emissions compared to a diesel fleet. We're also working with Westminster, City of London and Sheffield City Council, with Westminster City Council recently launching a 60-strong vehicle fleet of both new and upcycled vehicles. As well as just running the vehicles, Veolia's energy team are delivering energy charging infrastructure. And we're supporting a full circular economy for these customers, both in terms of running those fleets, charging them, but we're using the waste that they deliver to energy recovery facilities to then charge those vehicles to power the vehicles back onto the streets. Back to you, Tim.
Thank you, Neil. We now move on to a Q&A session. It'll be a fairly brief one, but do ask any questions you like, send them in and make it clear who you wish in the panel to answer, if it's specifically about one of the presentations. But if we don't get time to get to your question, they all will be answered and posted to you afterwards, so you will get an answer. But to kick off, actually, is something my readers and your customers at Veolia must be asking now, and I do get this, is just where do I start on my journey to decarbonisation? So maybe John Abraham can give a view on where to begin.
Yeah, thank you, Tim, and congratulations to all the speakers today. That was absolutely fabulous. Thank you very much. Slightly biased opinion, call Veolia. I think today we've just scratched the surface of the examples we could have talked about across decarbonisation and energy efficiency across the globe. We've mentioned 5 of 40 odd countries that we work in around the world. So on a serious note, we really do want to partner with you all, and we really do want to be part of your journey. But the longer answer to the question is more about how, where do you start? Well, it's like every problem, isn't it? It's about creating resources. It's about creating the information. Start with information gathering. You've got to look at the power, the heating, the utility supplies that you all have. You already do. I know you do. And then you start to look at the current operational needs, the future operational needs, and really match them to your carbon strategy going forward. It's very easy to say some date in the future when we're going to be net zero carbon, but we really believe it's the step-by-step process. You've got to break the problem down into its components and start at the beginning, invest in it. I think Denny said earlier, there's no silver bullet, perhaps some blue ones and some green ones, but really just breaking it down into its basic components. And then carrying on the measurements and the audit. It's a lot about data. It's about the data gathering. and it's about understanding the data. And the last point I'd make is when you do spend valuable resources on delivering energy efficiencies, make sure you actually get those efficiencies and more. You know, there's lots of optimization that can be given to lots of the assets that you have that can get more for less, really. So watch this webinar. There's lots of information, but it's only scratching the surface of it, really, Tim.
Thank you. Marco, what stage are you at in your bioenergy project, and when do you think it will go live?
I think in our business, we currently have two core questions for the future. First is how to handle digestate in the future, and the second one is what is the best way to use the biogas in the future. As I told you before, we will start a digestate purification at our site in Badewig next month. Our goal is there to produce a high quality fertilizer that can be used by farmers and clear water. We will install an ultrafiltration and a reverse osmosis. And to be honest, we expect that we will have some problems at the beginning, and we have to learn a little bit, and it will take some time till it works. The second question today, I cannot answer. We are highly driven by political requirements, and we will have a new government in Germany probably till the end of this year. If I leave that out and expect that there will not be a significant change, I think that we will use our biogas in the logistics for our trucks in the future. So right now we are waiting for what will happen next year, and if I'm right, and we will use it for the trucks, we will develop our sites in the next 3 or 4 years in this direction. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. This one's going over to Bartek in Poland. Can you see district heating expanding further in Poland?
Certainly, yes, because what we see, it's a very dynamic development of the housing building, which is the main customer for district heating system. And when the housing building grows, the district heating networks grow the same way. So there is a real potential development for the future for Polish cities and district heating systems, but there are significant factors which are necessary to be taken into account for the future. One is what we are talking about today is the decarbonization, because without it, we will be not able to provide the expected by the housing owners ecological factors or ecological indicators, and to have our district heating systems decarbonized, we also have to think about decentralization of production, because as I mentioned before, there are no existing large-scale renewable resources solutions today. If we go if we want to have renewable resources in our production volume, we have to decentralize the production and let the smaller renewable energy sources be in the system. And the last thing which is necessary is the digitization of the district heating systems, because we have to think also about energy efficiency. We as network operators, we have to provide this energy efficiency solutions and possibilities to save the energy to our customers. To have it, we have to manage the data, and we have to really influence the demand of heat. We have advanced solutions already in Poland, in our Veolia facilities. We can manage remotely some of the installations, but still there's a space to digitalize it further and build on it with the customer.
Great, thank you. This one's for Cormac in Ireland. Are there plans for strengthening Veolia's partnership at the Mater Hospital?
Thanks, Tim. Yes, is the short answer. The slightly long answer would, I suppose, include a lot of what the hospital is carrying out at the moment around expansion. We'd see ourselves as being a key partner to enable the utilisation of their existing assets on a quite considerable expansion that they're at an advanced stage of construction at the moment. There's probably more opportunities across the site that weren't, I suppose, commercially viable 3 years ago. And as technologies have moved on, some LED benefits, solar PV benefits, heating controls, as we become, I suppose, more embedded on the site, we start to see more and more opportunities. And then speaking back to the demand response, the site itself is a participant in the demand response services to the grid, and we see that strategy developing over time as well, and progressing in scale.
Great, thanks. We might have time, for one further question, but it's I'm not sure who wants to answer this one, but we've looked at some of the most exciting technologies today and things that are developing, but I wondered how behavioural change, how significant that is in decarbonisation challenge.
I think I can take that one if you like, Tim. Again, I mentioned in my introduction how the management of change is so important. Anyone going through organisational evolutions, strategic delivery of an organisation, understands how managing change and creating the desired culture is what it's all about. And I think the decarbonisation is exactly the same. There've never been more of an opportunity to get collaboration, teamwork, all the values that we all want to instill in change management implemented across an organisation, its partners and its supply chain. Never has there been a greater cause, to save our planet. And I know it sounds very dramatic to say that, but it really is the most important thing to tackle, decarbonisation, the journey to net zero. And so change management, the cultural journey, they say, don't they, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. You have to get the culture right. You have to get the people motivated. And I think it's it's an easy topic to motivate people with, environmental improvements and decarbonisation, because everyone's so passionate about it. But getting the hearts and minds, getting people engaged, communicating, nobody should have a patent on good ideas with decarbonisation, because it's such an important topic. So fantastic question. I'm not sure who asked it, but that change journey is what it's all about for me.
Well, actually, it's really good luck that you answered that, John, because perhaps I'll hand back over to you for summing up today's event. And then to say, if anyone did have questions that aren't answered, they will be after the event. Over to you, John.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Again, I've got to say thanks again to all our experts, our customers, the presenters, some fascinating insights into decarbonisation and how we can together actually deliver a zero carbon world and the ecological transformation we all need. It's a must. The first panel today discussed heat and power decarbonisation within water and energy, and combining multiple and complementary solutions, I think, was a theme that came out very well, like having a circular economy fertiliser that we sell to the agriculture sector while producing even more renewable energy for very important assets such as wastewater treatment plants, and how biological and engineering experience and expertise creates these inspiring results. It's pretty amazing. Mining waste heat from our industrial and heat networks in Poland ensures that we get every megawatt of energy from our precious resources. This is the first time we've actually used waste heat from an industrial site for municipal heating. It's simply amazing. The energy efficiency panel discussions and examples across the municipal and healthcare sector are a game changer. Siobhan, fantastic presentation about virtual power plants, we call them. Creating and improving demand-side response improves grid resilience while maximizing renewable energy, balancing supply and demand in real time. It's very, very clever. Spend to save initiatives across our healthcare trusts are delivering carbon reductions. You've heard concrete and real delivered examples today. as well as significant cost savings, then allow further investment in healthcare. It was great to hear Alan Sharp talk about the many benefits already delivered and the future potential. There's many more examples. They talked about our industrial examples for decarbonisation that are innovative, robust engineering solutions that deliver results over the long term. It's great to see how collaboration and partnerships, it's come up so many times now in the last hour and a half, accelerate both the timescales and the effectiveness of a solution. Our US teams are already delivering really impressive cost savings, and it was great to see the passion in those clips. Finally, the future emerging technologies are very exciting, with electric vehicles, biofuels, hydrogen already making a significant impact on the essential journey to net zero. Hearing Rocio talk about hydrogen, I'm sure she's going to be a huge part of the solution in the future, delivering the solution for many years to come. So thank you for that. I'm very grateful to our customers and colleagues for such an inspirational discussion today. One area, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So how do we actually measure our ecological transformation? So I just very quickly want to measure how we want to be measured in Veolia to ensure that we create a balanced and sustainable solution and service. We believe this multifaceted performance concept truly measures a balance between our environmental performance, commercial, economic and financial performance, our people and our human resource performance, and finally our social performance. Balancing all the demands of society, customers, shareholders, employees, and most importantly, our planet when delivering our goals and communities, when performing all of our stakeholders. This is how we at Veolia expect to be measured. So finally, thank you for joining us today. We are the generation that is and will continue to make a difference and really save the planet. Please let's work together through collaborative experience and innovation to deliver or even accelerate the COP26 vital objectives. We've tried to capture a little of the essence of COP26 today, and matched with Veolia's can-do attitude and ambition of the ecological transformation, we can actually deliver massive results. If you would like to get in touch, please go to our website. It's info.veolia.co.uk/future of energy. Everything from today will be available for you, and this webinar is being recorded as Tim mentioned earlier, so you can pull out all the examples in your own time. And a final thank you to Ferial and Caroline in Paris, Martin and the team in London, and the team from Aquila, who have done a really great job today. So thanks a million, everybody, and thank you very much.